Oh my goodness me. It's time. It's time. We're here. It's finally happened. Oh my goodness. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the YELLKAOS Program. You thought it wouldn't happen. You thought this was a rib. You thought I was playing with you. Oh my goodness. It's good to be here on right here on YouTube on Google Hangouts. Once again, I missed all of the people. You folks being the people. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for joining me. I know it's been a while. I say that a lot, I know, but hopefully this will be the last time I have to say that for quite some time. It's been a while, and a lot of things have happened. I've been away from you. I've been away from all forms of the internet for any number of reasons, most of which being very busy with personal issues. And I know I can hear you. I can tell people are snickering when I said the ladies part in front of the gentlemen. There's ladies in here. You know there are. I know there's two. There's that girl with the funny glasses and that one girl with the cute smile, the one that makes the plushy animals, you know, and the different things. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, say hello to everybody. That's what I'm about here to do. Sounding a little hoarse because if you didn't know it, it's summertime in Southern California. And when it's summertime in Southern California, the air gets pretty crummy. Even here, here in San Diego County, an area notorious for air quality in California and Southern California, air quality gets a little crummy. So it's kind of worked over my my allergies a little bit. And so if I sound a little hoarse, please understand. If I develop software, I can say that all the time. Please understand. You know, and then you wouldn't be able to be mad at me. I shouldn't neglect to mention that this is also the return of the Great Big Damn Cup. This Great Big Damn Cup was brought to you by the YELLKAOS Program. Get yours at greatbigdamncup.com. So anyway, it's wonderful to see everybody. A lot of the usual suspects are in there. And it's so nice of you. So many of you, at least a good handful of you, were very supportive even when I was gone. I guess I could name names. I could. Nikki, I appreciate the support, and I want to also send it out to Monty. Monty, I won't mention his last name, so I don't want to embarrass him or anything. But Monty declared me WWF champion, and so a few other people. But I appreciate it, putting the belt on me. You have that kind of confidence in my work. I appreciate it, and hopefully I'm here to stay because there's just a whole bunch to say, a whole bunch to do. And just when you thought there wasn't enough obnoxious YouTubers on the YouTube telling you what they think, even though these were unsolicited opinions, I'm going to try and, you know, shove my 2 cents edgewise, frontwise, whatever it takes. Just so you know that you people, you lovely people, are, I don't know. I assume you like me. So somebody you like will be out there saying things. And then I'll get in a fight with the president on Twitter or something, and we'll all live happily ever after. So it's a great thing. So I'm really, really happy to see everybody. Now the Boston Burf, who another guy who's been very supportive of my content and does great work himself, and also from the great state of Wisconsin, asked me, will limited run games be offering 12 copies of the Big Damn Cup? Yes, and it'll come with a keychain, which is just a slightly smaller Big Damn Cup. So get yours today. So what are we going to talk about? Where have I been? Well, first and foremost, I want to tell you that things have been busy. Things have been tough. There has been family issues, which are things that I try never, ever to bring into social media, on the internet, on YouTube, or otherwise. That's just something that's important to me. And when people bring their family issues onto YouTube and otherwise, I don't know. I find it very distasteful. I think that social media should have been a way for us to come together as people and a people. And instead, it's a way that's been able to drive us apart, drive wedges between us digitally. I remember when I first discovered Instagram. I'll come back to what I was talking about in a second, but I remember when I first went to Instagram and I said, finally, a platform that you cannot politicize. And geez, they found a way. Geez Louise, did they find a way. So I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm going to try and bring nothing but sunshine and happiness into your life in any way I know how. So the raving RPGer wants to know, have I lost weight? Since you saw me last, I don't think so. It could just be the years, you know, not necessarily the mileage or vice versa. But I am wearing the same shirt. Tater Snake brings up that I'm wearing the same shirt that I was just a year ago. This just happened to be the first thing in the closet. So that's the power of mythos in the YELLKAOS universe, you know. It's like Han Solo was encased in carbonite wearing that white shirt. And when he reemerged, he was wearing the same white shirt, you know. So that's what happened. I was encased in carbonite. But now things just on that front, dealing with family business is never a pleasant thing. And I decided a while back, before I stopped doing this for a while, that I did not want to bring displeasure into your lives. Because I know that some people use social media in a cathartic way, and I appreciate that, you know, if that's really what it does for you. You know, and it's going to be different based on your own displeasure, things like that. But I'm not one of those people. Or at least I decided to no longer be one of those people to bring distaste and displeasure into your lives. There's enough going on like that. Too many people make money off of you. Those people actually benefit directly from your tax dollars, but that's another discussion. Too many people, I think, make too much money off of misery. So we're going to try and reverse that, if I can. I apologize for the clearing of the throat. It's been some time since I've had a chance to really sit down and talk out loud like this. I've been very busy, like I said, dealing with all those things that I'm not going to bore you with, but it has been trying. Also, problems at home and abroad, things that are challenging. I've been deeply disturbed by, and I don't want to bring this up, but I'm going to tell you anyway, so we can just have it out in the open. I've been deeply disturbed by the homeless problem that is permeating Southern California and the American Southwest, an area that was supposed to have defied the elements and conquered this section of the continent. It is evaporating. It's the California dream, while dead years ago. The corpse is starting to smell, you know, and so there's that. That doesn't affect any of you people that don't live in California. So, but I'm sure that's also a problem. But I don't want to get into that, because what do? You know, there's no serious, you know, just one simple catch-all answer. So what do you do about any of these things? You just, I guess, try and put on a smile and do what you can. That's what I think. But apparently the problem is also in Wisconsin. That doesn't surprise me, Madison being a sort of a thriving city these days. When I was a kid visiting Wisconsin, visiting my great-grandparents, Madison was very quaint, very cute, a lot of brick and stone buildings. So I couldn't imagine what it's like today, but that happens. But in all that having been said, though, I want to talk about something. I have had a chance to do something. Now that I'm here, now that I'm back, I can just say whatever the hell I want. Oh, that reminds me. It's time to plug the social media. I forgot how we open these programs. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that you check me out on the Facebook. You'll find the information down there in the description. That is if you're one of those people that, or no, I guess it does work on the mobile apps. Not too long ago, the mobile apps for YouTube were useless. So now at least they have a use. I don't know if they're actually drawing any money, but they have a use. But down there in the description, you'll be able to find links to find me at Facebook and at Twitter. And I for those of you that caught my tweet last week, since Twitter is a place for fighting, I will kick all of your asses, every last one of you. And I also want to thank you for your support. Now, for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you've already heard that joke, and you're booing and you're saying rip off. I don't know, man. What can you do? Ric Flair did the same stuff night after night, so that's just what you're going to have to deal with. So check me out on the Twitter there and say hello if you got something to say. Don't be shy. You know, I'm really a nice person some of the time, and hopefully some of the time is when I'm on Twitter. Also, check me out on Instagram, because I've found that I like to share pictures because, again, you can't politicize it, and you know, it's something that's just a different way for me to express myself, I think. Also, you can see all the neato places I'm going and kind of follow along, because sharing pictures on Facebook kind of stinks, you know, so it's kind of quick and go. Also, there's a new app out there. Well, it's not new. It's been redesigned several times. I think I might have told you about it. About Anchor, which is supposedly a podcasting app, kind of, sort of. I know I'm not making it sound like a very good thing, but for iPhone users, and I don't know if it's on Android yet, I really don't, but iPhone users, head out there and find Anchor, Anchor, and check out what I'm doing on there, because I'm not doing a whole lot yet, because I'm trying to really maximize. I'm doing, actually, I didn't tell you about this, and you might feel left out, and I'm sorry. The program's kind of its infancy. With a buddy of mine, Rob, we're doing the Independent podcast, a podcast that was supposed to be dedicated to independent wrestling, but now it kind of bounces all over the place, as I tend to do. So if you're into that sort of thing, go check out the Independent podcast on Anchor. So please do that. Check it out, you know, because I might bring a little bit of sunshine into your life. Don't I look like a sunshine kind of guy? I think so. But I had a chance earlier this year. Well, not earlier this year, but just a few months ago, I got to go to something, and I've been wanting to tell you guys about it for a long time. I tried to do a travel log, because I don't know if you know this about me. I hope you know this about me, but I fancy myself a bit of I won't say expert, but a travel journeyman. I know how to travel. I think I've got vacation pretty down pat. The enjoying part and the spending money part is really difficult for me. But the planning and getting yourself set and taking care of yourself on vacation, I think I'm pretty good at that. And so I hope you'll join me on some of the trips I go on, and I can help you have a better trip. I really believe I can. Also, being as someone who belongs to a minority group, if you didn't know this already, I am and have been a strict vegetarian for the last 11 or 12 years. And traveling as someone of the alternative diet persuasion is not as easy as you'd think. So that's definitely going to be something on the show in the coming weeks. So I hope you join me for that. I really do. But I got to go somewhere that I've wanted to go for a very long time. As a lifelong fan of professional wrestling, and this might bore some people. Don't worry, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I've given serious thought, and I might divert some of my wrestling interest to another channel. But you'll hear about it a little bit on here, I hope. As a lifelong fan of professional wrestling, I got to see, for the very first time, I got to attend the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, which has kind of blossomed into a bit of a wrestling convention, I guess, in the last few years. They have it in Las Vegas, and I'm a fan of Las Vegas. If you didn't know that, you had to know that. If you've seen the Full Metal Vegas program, you know these things. And they had it at the Gold Coast, in just off the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, a casino that I'd never been. So if you will indulge me for just a moment, I'm going to tell you about the trip, because it was something that I learned a lot. I saw some things that I never saw before. So let me impart those to you, and hopefully we can go into greater detail for next year's Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. I do plan to go next year. So I made the trek out, went out by myself. Mrs. YELLKAOS is not really a wrestling fan. And also we have animals around the house, and we couldn't get anybody to watch the animals. And since I was going to be at this thing for a few days, I thought it really silly if she's going to go all the way there so I can do something and she can be bored. I didn't want that to happen. So I tried not to let that happen. So I embarked out by myself, made the long trip, not terribly long actually, but the long trip from San Diego to Las Vegas, Nevada. And boy, was it a windy drive. Got pushed, took the big car, took my sedan, and got pushed around on the road on the old I-15. And it was a harrowing experience, more dry than I was expecting. And I know it's dry, but it was extra dry this time going up. Got to do a few things. Got to stop in Baker, California. If you don't know Baker, California, don't feel bad. There's not much to know about Baker, California. But if you've seen the Full Metal Vegas program, they have a place called the Mad Greek Cafe, which is really the crossroads of the world. All the scumbags coming, through that part of the desert, they all stop there. And so I got to see that, a really crowded place with really, I hate to bury them like this, but really bad food. Really bad food. If you're ever in Baker, California, and you see the Mad Greek, and it's the only damn thing you can see besides the world's tallest thermometer in Baker, and slowly the what they call the Alien Jerky store. They have a store entirely dedicated to beef jerky, turkey jerky, and I guess you would call it hot sauce or picante sauce that only exists to, I guess, give you diarrhea or something, something to that effect. But if you're ever there, stop by. It's a really, kooky looking place, but I wouldn't eat the food. I went to a much more classy place. I did. I stopped at a lovely bistro. You might have heard of it. It's a Spanish place, Del Taco. And for a few bucks, I stopped off and had a burrito and some French fries. And this particular Del Taco, now, you'll know, if you don't know about traveling in the desert, here's something you need to know. You need water to live. And the people in the desert know that. And so water and food and things like that are going to come at a premium. Just so you know, because it's a big pain in the ass to get it there in the first place. You'll see similar things in like mountain communities. It's troublesome to get stuff there, so it costs a little bit more. And this was the only Del Taco, and if you're not from California, you might not know Del Taco, but this was the only Del Taco that I'd ever been that had what they call their buck and under menu, which is where they had items that were a buck and under. And this menu had no items that were either a buck or under a buck. None whatsoever. And I thought to myself, that has got to be the cheapest stuff ever. They couldn't even change the menu to say like almost a buck and under or something. They didn't even try. So, but because I was in Baker, California, in the middle of the Mojave Desert, so there was that. I just thought I'd share that. But anyway, made my way up to Las Vegas, Nevada, and this was my first time going to Las Vegas, not staying, I guess, on the Strip. Because a lot of the places I'd stayed when I was younger were in the South Strip. And then in the last several times, if you'll notice, we stayed at the Stratosphere Las Vegas, which gets a bad rap. It's not a great hotel, but it's not a terrible hotel either. It's a place that doesn't deserve to charge a resort fee, but they don't charge you to park, which I cannot believe I'm referring to as a feature. I think it's very interesting. That happens in Las Vegas. I don't know if you know that, but a lot of the resorts want you to pay a fee to park your car so you can come into their building and throw money away. I thought that was really interesting. It's like, that's nerve. How they do it without a gun, I have no idea. And I'm impressed. Don't get me wrong. I think part of it is jealousy. I wish I could charge people to park at my house, but I can't do that. So I'd throw a party every week if that was the case. It'd be $7 out front. But I got over to the Gold Coast in the afternoon, and I was nervous because it's been my experience in staying in places on the Strip anyway, that you really want to get in, to check in right about check-in time, which is for most places about 3 o'clock. The less busier places will let you check in like right after 12. But usually it's about 3 o'clock. So I wanted to be there right about 3 o'clock because I didn't want to stand in a big line. And mind you, this is a place I'd never been. And I found it, got there. You know, it wasn't a warm day. It was actually, the weather was really nice. But boy, was it dry. Just dry. It was something else. And loaded in the car, and I got my bag and everything, and I went down, and took me a while to find the check-in desk, but once I did, it was a very short queue line with nobody in it. And I didn't get into town till like 4:30. And the first wrestling show started at 6:30, I want to believe. So, you know, I knew to load in and to shower and all that stuff was going to take, you know, a little while. But I got right in, and they just, oh, hi, how are you? And, you know, all this stuff. And it was just a matter of seconds. So I was very impressed. I want to say that if you're thinking about a place to stay in Las Vegas, the Gold Coast Hotel and Casino, they got me in real quick. Real nice girls down there. I didn't get any names or anything like that, but I want you to know that they get you in really fast. And what was interesting to me is it's always interesting when you're dealing with somebody at a place, a restaurant or a hotel or some sort of hospitality, and the words that they give to you to describe, to find things within the property, they're softly telling you this place sucks, which means they probably don't like their job very much. No, I'm not suggesting that's what these girls were doing, but they did suggest to me that the place is easy to navigate because it's just a rectangle. And the map didn't really suggest that until I really looked at it. It's like, yeah, it's just a big rectangle. That should be easy. And it was a big rectangle full of smoke and old lady perfume, but we can get into that in a minute. So made my way up to the hotel, walking past what I found out was like the only serious restaurant in there, which was a TGI Fridays. And that was a little depressing. But what am I talking about? Walked past there, and there are security at the elevators. Now, that was interesting to me. I'd never seen that before. Most hotels in which I'd stayed, when you get on the elevator, they just take your word for it. You don't got to check with anybody. So I had to flash my key. So if you're going to stay at the Gold Coast, be aware of that. I think that's because I just guess to keep it less rowdy, because it strikes me as kind of an older folks place. God, I'm not making it sound very good, but it was quite nice. Went up, had a room on the 3rd floor. Now, I was with a convention. See, so when you're with a convention and you're getting a group discount, don't expect them to give you the hottest rooms in the building. You should not expect that. You really shouldn't. But I walked in and into my room. And what's funny is I walked past, came in through the room, and there were some girls. And these girls, they had clearly been in Las Vegas more than one day. Because I think it's funny that, and this might make me sound old or something, but I love how the punk rock hairdo, the purples and the greens and the reds and all that stuff, is really in. It's really over now. It's really popular with the young ladies and the old ladies. And these girls were of a mixed age group. I want to say 3, maybe 4 of them. And they all had green hair and purple hair, but it looked like they got in the pool and this shit ran. So, I mean, anyway, they had clearly been, hit hard by Las Vegas, but they were still standing. And I guess they were on the same floor as I was. And one of the girls with the purple and wild hair looked to be, and she looked me right in the face and said, "Howdy," and stared at me for a second. And I said, "Hi." And that was really the end of our interaction. It's not very funny. I just thought I'd share. But so I get to my room, open the door, and it's quite nice. It's not terribly big. I didn't take a lot of pictures. I will next time. But it's quite nice. And of course, I walk over and I want to see what my view is. That's usually the first thing I do. But halfway through, across the room, I can see my view is of a stucco wall. And I get even closer and I look down. It's like I can see the maintenance area, like one of the housekeeper's carts and the maintenance man's cart. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. So what happened is I get myself loaded in, and if you should know something about me, if for any reason you're one of those people that's going to travel with me, I bring a lot of stuff. I'm a big pain in the ass. And I'll elaborate on more on that in the future. But I bring a lot of stuff, you know. I bring my own reruns. Mrs. Chaos sends me off with an old Android tablet that is Android tablet. What on earth is that? An old Android tablet that is HDMI ready, and there are ways to overpower the cable box in the hotel room and just plug it in through HDMI. Some places will let you do that, some won't. So you know you gotta be careful about that. And then you also, if you break it, you have to make it look like you don't know how it got that way. Don't know what happened. But so I was watching reruns of Married with Children while I was getting ready, and it was interesting just because this is kind of a nice room, and I didn't pay a lot for it, and you know, I mean, I did pay a resort fee, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, it was a nice room. That was the point I was trying to get to. And so then I got all nice and dressed. Well, at least, you know, as gussied up as I can get, I suppose, and put on a jacket. I did. And I went down to see the first wrestling show in the Arizona ballroom of the Gold Coast. Apparently they do this every year and have been doing it for a number of years. A handful of promotions, one of them Big Valley Wrestling, and I think Future Stars of Wrestling, and a lot of the Eastern California and Las Vegas promotions get together. And they put on a wrestling program, 2 nights of wrestling. And it's just thrown in. It's not even part of, you know, what you paid for the convention and all that stuff. And it's now, and I shouldn't neglect to mention, this is open only to Cauliflower Alley Club members. So you do have to be a member to enjoy this stuff. But, you know, for the show, though, you know, for those first nights, you can just walk right in. And I think they prefer that because, you know, it's better to wrestle in front of a bunch of people than no people. And I sat down and found myself a comfortable chair, and surprisingly, and I couldn't believe this as a wrestling fan, shocked. Nice chairs, real nice, like dining room chairs. So much like you could sit back, and they went real high, and they were very comfortable. I was shocked by that. I really, really was. It was something else to be in a place like that, and they gave me a nice chair to sit in. It was interesting, and sat through a pretty decent wrestling show. I got to see some people that I had never seen before. I got to see some people that I'd seen come to Southern California and wrestle and work here. I got to see some guys who work around here, specifically wrestle out there. It was a nice mix. It was a really good feeling because it was not an indie wrestling crowd. If you don't know what that means, I assume you know what that means. If you don't know what that means, good. But it was not an indie wrestling crowd. It was a mixed crowd. There were some old timers. That was the thing that really got me, was how many old time, and I shouldn't say old time like, well, senior citizens. I'm going to say it like that. Older fellas that clearly, I mean, knew the moves and were into it. You know, it wasn't just like, if you've ever tried to watch, you know, modern music with your grandparents or something, and they don't get it. They're just waiting for it to be over so they can, I don't know, listen to Lawrence Welk or whatever it is they do. It wasn't like that. It was people who were really into watching. And I'm sure a lot of these guys were old wrestlers who just couldn't wrestle anymore, because Cauliflower Alley Club is a wonderful organization. They do a great thing, a great service, trying to help professional wrestlers who can no longer support themselves as professional wrestlers, helping them find work in one way or another, and helping them out with medical expenses should that be the case, and honoring them. And I think very worthwhile. And this is just my opinion, but it's a strong opinion, and I think strong opinions are worth having. I think you think that, otherwise I don't think you would be here. But I got to watch a pretty decent wrestling show. Okay, there was some pretty good matches, and there was a whole bunch of crap But I really got to see some fun stuff. I got to see one guy that comes around here, wrestles around here, Jew Diz. I got to see Jew Diz doing some things. A lot of people were chanting Kobe Kingston at him because he's got kind of a Kofi Kingston look right now. Did I say Kobe? I apologize. He's got a bit of a Kofi Kingston look going on right now. I also got to see Sin Bodhi, who is a guy that wrestles around here, but I think he's based in Las Vegas. The Warlord of Weird. He's a different kind of cat. You know, he does something different, and I think that's a really great thing. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I hope to be able to tell him that I think he's doing a great thing because he's doing something different. And if anything, entertainment, professional wrestling in particular, but entertainment needs is something different. You know, something else. So also got to see a guy I'd never heard of before, but I'd heard people talk about. So I shouldn't say heard of, never seen, and I was unaware of anything that he'd done, but I heard the name Funny Bone. And again, different. I'll give it that. And who else? Who else did I see? I got to see Kikutaro on that first night. And Kikutaro, if you don't know Kikutaro, look up Kikutaro. Kikutaro is fantastic and did a really neat fake out spot, which you might ask yourself, what is a fake out spot? They did a 4 corners type of tag team match where there was 4 tag teams involved. And if you've ever seen, it's a real heel move when the opposing team, somebody puts their foot on the turnbuckle and they slam someone's head into the turnbuckle. Well, he took a fella in a headlock and got everybody to put their foot on the turnbuckle and then just changed his mind and left them there. And I don't know, there's something funny about seeing somebody with their foot up on the turnbuckle, waiting and waiting and waiting and not getting what they were waiting for. It's funny in a way. I guess you have to know a lot about wrestling to find it funny. Maybe that's just maybe it just tickles me in a certain way. But it was a really fun night. I had a really good time. And God, after that, after the show let out at a little after 9 o'clock, so it was a good long show, and I didn't pay a dime for it. And I got to see a handful of faces that I knew from the past, like Sam Houston and a couple other guys. And suddenly I realized that I had not eaten since I want to say 2 o'clock that afternoon. This is now 9:30. I said I have to get something to eat. And then I ran into some people who see wrestling around here and got to chat with them. And, it's funny the way you run into people. It's people that I assumed would be there. And then I was right. So it was less about serendipity and more about, I went somewhere where I'd heard they might be. So anyway, I walked out of the Gold Coast, ran over to, I shouldn't say ran over, but next door is a property called the Rio Suites. I walked over there, and boy, was it windy outside. Windy. So much so that the wind picked up my jacket and was pushing me across the street. And I don't know if you know this. Here's something you should know about traveling to Las Vegas. This has been the last few times. People who drive in and around Las Vegas, they wait a long time to apply the brakes when there's a red light, especially, and I don't know if it's especially, but I notice when I'm a pedestrian in a walkway, they wait a long time. Especially ones with the big bass drum, the doom, 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 all of that stuff. PlayStation is hitting me with a text message right now when I need it the least. I'll hit him up in a second. What was I saying? Oh, so went over to the Rio and had one of the most expensive dinners I've ever had for myself. I walked into a place called the Royal India Bistro. Real nice place. I enjoyed it. Went in there and really nice place. All that I can say. The girls didn't pay too much attention to me, but that was all right. I didn't really need anything. I ordered if you know Indian food, I ordered a malai kofta and a rice basmati, and they brought me a really big portion. And of course, the check came, and it was like $30 just to feed myself. But it was great because I think this is the first trip where I've ever had the WWF network on my phone. So I was able to watch WrestleMania 6 while I was eating dinner. And it was nice. And something I noticed, because I'm big on water. I water quality and things like that, which is why I don't drink soda pop anymore. it's just I'm very particular about the kind of water that I have. So I always try and carry a distilled water with me when I'm in the desert because it's just that dryness. I need that, that that extra, that extra little something that distilled water provides. And so sitting there at the table, this little girl was pouring water. I say little girl, she was like 25, I would assume. And she's pouring water for me, and it's taking forever for her to come back and get me water. It's like, bitch, don't you know this is a desert? I am evaporating before your very eyes. Get over here. And I noticed that desert water tastes different, and that's because I'm sure a lot of it is reclaimed. So be aware of that when you're traveling in the desert, that it's not going to be the lovely water that you enjoy wherever it is that you're used to enjoying lovely water. Be aware of that. But I ate there, and it was like $30, but it was good food. It was fantastic food. The tough thing was I couldn't, and know this about Las Vegas. The portions are big. Things are expensive, but the portions are big. And with that, you can't, and you don't have a microwave in your, in fact, I don't think any of the hotels are dumb enough to have microwaves in them, even the suites. But you don't have a microwave. You don't have a refrigerator. Some might have a refrigerator, but you won't have a microwave to heat stuff up. So I had to eat this essentially dinner for two by myself because it was the smallest thing on the menu. And I was full. I had never tried to cram so much into my body, try and eat so much food, just in one sitting in a restaurant. Never, even at a buffet. Never. It was just this amazing amount of food. If you don't know, malai kofta is vegetable and potato dumplings, and they're quite big. They're like double-sized meatballs, but of potato and vegetables, and carrots and all those really filling, sugary, heavy vegetables. And so just being full of that and all this curry, and it was delicious. Don't get me wrong. And then I left, walked out through the Rio, and the Rio. Now Las Vegas casinos are supposed to be 24 hours, but the Rio didn't really seem like they wanted to keep me. It was very dark and very smoky, which is to be expected. The Nevada Clean Air Act of 2007, I want to say, really didn't restrict all that much, and was met with much opposition. So that idea that they're going to clean up the casinos, the stuff's in the carpet, stuff's in the walls. Even if they outlawed smoking in casinos tomorrow, it would still smell. So I was aware of that. But then I walked back over to the Gold Coast, and this was, when did I get over there? Probably about 11 or so. And like a girl, I went back to my room. I got Las Vegas at my doorstep, in front of me, and I went to my room to sleep because the desert had been kicking the shit out of me all day. I apologize for my language. And so I went to sleep because I knew the next morning I was going to get up and I was going to do some stuff. And if you didn't know, behind me, you see that it's a little dark back there. I got to get lights back there, but I've in the last year, I've developed a bit of an affinity for Lego products, because modular synthesis was way too expensive. If you really want to know why, if you have any questions, why did I arrive at that? I was interested in modular synthesis and building my own guitar pedals for a time. And as I started to crunch the math on those things, like, that's really expensive for stuff that's really heavy and it's going to take up a lot of room in my house. And if I'm going to have a bunch of loose parts, why not parts that I can reuse? And so then all of this happened, and I don't want to tell you this, but I'm going to. That there's more over here, and one of the closets in this room here has quite a bit. So I've developed a bit of a collection, and it kind of got helped out by this trip, actually, because I decided that after really having been quite fed up with thrift stores in the state of California, And I'm sure it's this way in other places. Savers/Value Village has become not a very hospitable place to thrift shoppers, their core audience. Their tactics and their promotions and a lot of things, in my opinion, have been very anti-consumer. Pricing and other things. Now you can still get a good deal, but it's, not as thrifty as it once was. So, you got to do that. You got to do those things. But I went around to the different thrift stores, and I tried to do suburban Las Vegas on foot, which means I would drive to a thrift store or discount store looking for, toys and whatever. And, coming up with some here and some not so there. So, but you have to expect these things. But I thought, just like in California, I tried to walk on, different corners. I didn't realize that Nevada air standards are nothing like California air standards and smog standards as we have them here, because there's just as many cars, if not more so, as you'd find in any, California metropolis. But Las Vegas is hemmed in by mountains, making a large valley. So all of that stuff, much like San Bernardino County here in California, like areas like Ontario and Fontana, where that bad air just sits there and stands there. And also, they don't regulate the cars the same way. So I'm walking around breathing this stuff, and it's a horrid experience. So I don't recommend that. I also don't recommend going to any of the Southern Nevada Goodwill locations. I know what human urine smells like. I've worked in a theme park, more than one, and when urine is left in a shabby store, and not to mention a shabby store that was probably, an older store from a bygone era. Anyway, it's not a pleasant experience, and all of them were like that. I don't know why. I went to every Goodwill of Southern Nevada that on this trip I visited. I smelled human urine. And it was also because I think they're trying to cover it up with the air conditioning, so it smells like refrigerated urine. And I don't know if you know this, but there's no way to dress up human urine. Excretion, discharge of any kind. There's no way to dress that up and make it more appealing. So my point is, I had no fun in the Goodwills of Southern Nevada, and I don't recommend that you go there. So with that having been said, I wrapped that up, and then I got to go to the Lego store in the Fashion Show Mall in Las Vegas, Nevada. They're on the Strip, and I was shocked to see a mall, a shopping mall with people in it. Because if you come to any of the malls in Southern California, people don't go to the mall. People go to the restaurants in the mall, but no one really shops in the mall. The people who are doing the shopping in the mall are the employees of the mall who get a discount. Even though a lot of money is being thrown at the malls right now, and they're still using the same old model of, hey, come here and buy T-shirts and records. So the mall has yet to reinvent itself. But in any event, the Fashion Show Mall, which is one of the more high-end malls in North America, has just this giant sprawling complex with a Macy's. Now, Macy's in California are slowly closing. A Dillard's. Any Dillard's California locations were wrapped up, I think, in the early 1990s. I could be wrong. Maybe it was later than that, but I don't remember seeing a Dillard's for a very long time. A Neiman Marcus, which Neiman Marcus, that means there's money coming here. They don't just show up at, just because they go because there's people spending money. They go to places where like there's a, Lamborghini dealership nearby. So why you would buy that stuff there, I don't know. But I went to the Lego store in the Fashion Show Mall, this big sprawling complex, which was very difficult to navigate, which had a giant Lego store, or not a giant Lego store, but a giant Disney store. I know because the men's room was right next to it. So it kind of made me happy. I was peeing on the wall that was attached to the Disney store. But anyway, I went over to the Lego store, and I expected Las Vegas caliber retail experience. And what I got was a Lego store about the size of, if you're old enough to remember, a Hot Topic. It's just not very big. It's very yellow. And just mostly the stuff that I had seen in Target with a pick-a-brick wall on the back. Prices about what you'd expect, but I was just not impressed. And shame on me for having expectations. I should have known better than to expect a big showing at a shopping mall. But again, this is a shopping mall that is shocking me by having people in it. It goes to show how far we've come. But I really think that they could have done more, but what are you going to do? It's expensive. It's Las Vegas. You know, F that noise. Anyway, went back to the hotel, got ready, was late to the second show. And much like I was today, late to the second show, went in through a back entrance that a friend told me about that you can just totally walk right in and get a great seat. And ended up sitting right behind the girls with the wild, crazy hair, and they were clearly vaguely sober, but they didn't look like Las Vegas had treated them any better. So that was an interesting experience. Saw the show and got to see something that I'd never seen before. And for you wrestling fans, this might be interesting. But there was a title match, and I overheard some wrestling fans who apparently were fans of the local promotions. I got to see them. I overheard them saying that, and they were confused when I spoke to them because I guess they're not used to people speaking to them. But I did have to correct them on the names of some moves, like they confused a Stone Cold Stunner with a modified Gourd Buster. And if you don't know the difference, that's because you're not insane. But the difference is, that's not important. But I overheard them saying that because this is a charity show and essentially an exhibition, that titles don't change hands. And there was a handful of title matches on the show. And there was what they called I want to say it was an NWA sanctioned title, Triforce Championship or something like that. I think that's what it was. I can't remember. Yes, this is where we've come in professional wrestling. We're naming professional wrestling belts after prizes in video games. Or arcade boards, video arcade boards. That depends entirely on your perspective and your age and your experience and all these things. And there goes my fingers around and across. Don't tell me we don't have special effects on this show. But anyway, this was a title match, and I'm not going to name the participants, but there was a fella. There was a small fella who was the champ, and a big fella who was clearly wearing tights that he bought a few years ago and has since put on what I like to call dad weight, which is where you get it around here, around the waist a little bit, and in the thighs. Because when you have children, and there's people in this audience, I can see them. They're talking smack to me in the comment section right now, who have children and understand that when you are a parent, you will allow all sorts of horrible stuff to enter your bloodstream. You will eat terrible things. Why? Because it comes out of a box and it shuts the kid up. And you know I'm right. Don't even stand there and argue with me. And if you want to argue with me, please feel free to drop me a line at the YELLKAOS Program at gmail.com, and I'll be gladly argue with you, and we can talk about this online at length, because I've just learned a lot of things about parents in the last few years. I've learned that it's not children I dislike, it's parents. But that's talk for another video. Anyway, wrap this one up. The champion in this match decided to take a move off the top rope and I guess missed his timing or did something, but threw a form, I think it was supposed to be a missile drop kick, and I thought he landed on his leg, but turns out he landed on his forearm, and I guess snapped the forearm right in two. Like, legitimately. And something that happens, and I'm going to tell you about this, and I don't like to talk about this. I'm uncomfortable with talking about this in a public forum such as this, but sometimes in professional wrestling, there are what they call legitimate injuries. Injuries that are not part of the show. They're not selling it. Somebody is legitimately hurt, has to go to the hospital, and may not be able to feed their family for a couple of weeks. And when they do that, the referee has to throw what they call the X, which is like this, the skull and crossbones, meaning this is dead. The show can't go any further. We're so sorry. I don't know if they're sorry, but they have to do it. And this kid apparently busted his arm and began to wail and, saying, "Oh no, it's broken," and the whole thing. And I guess the house doc came in to check him out, and the doctor essentially said, "Yeah, that mother's broken. This can't go on, and he can't wrestle probably for a long time." So they came over the microphone and explained to us that this match had to end in. Now, usually in my wrestling experience, that's a no contest or stoppage, referee stoppage, or they'd find a way out of it. And in this case, the title changed hands by a forfeiture. He had to forfeit the title that was at a charity show that the title wasn't really on the line. It was a title match. It wasn't a non-title match, but this happened. And one thing that I would say was great is that I've never seen that before. I have never ever seen a title match change hands by forfeiture. So good, bad, or indifferent, it was different. It was new. It was something that I'd never seen before, and I'm very thankful that I got to see that. I keep itching my nose because my nose is itching right when I'm trying to talk to you people. You people, I'm terribly sorry. I don't mean to address you in such a way. Anyway, went to see wrestling, had a great time. Was unhappy that I'm a major proponent of women's wrestling. There's some great things. Say what you want about the WWF's product. They have some great ladies there who are doing some great work. I'm not going to say every one of the matches is good or great, but they've got some talented people there who are doing some pretty impressive things. And a lot of the girls that I saw, and I'm not going to name names, but I want to say about 60% of them all had their suits crammed up their ass and little less than half of them with fishnet stockings. So they're not dressing like athletes, they're dressing like whores. And that might sound conservative of me, but I don't know. If the only way you can really get over is by cramming something up your ass, what are you really doing? It's just, what are you going to do? That's just the way it is, I guess. But I didn't appreciate it. But that second night when I came into the show, I got to see something that I have a flyer right here. It was on my chair. If you've ever been to a wrestling show, there's always flyers on your chair. And there was a flyer for a company. I'm not going to name names. I've been struggling for some time to tell you how I'm going to tell you about this and how I despise it. But it's something called, they call it professional wrestling, or they call it custom videos, which is not professional wrestling, because professional wrestling is designed to trick you into believing that it's a combat sport, and therefore you will help suspend your disbelief. In this case, it's essentially pornography. A long time ago, and they probably know this for quite some time, that there's a certain contingent of people who are sexually aroused by watching professional wrestling in one respect or another, either way. And then there's bodybuilder dudes who just love to look at muscles. So there's that. But this to me is quite that, and I'm opposed to it. So, see, now I've exposed what it is, and you're going to go look for it. But my point is, I wish the girls would stop dressing like whores. There's a way to get your message across. And how can you be, they want to be like examples for young girls, like this is the new way. It's like, this is girl power. This is women forging a new path. I don't think so. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think there are other ways of doing that without cramming something up your ass and dressing like a streetwalker. I really do. So those are my very conservative opinions about the wrestling show. Also, I want to talk to you about the aftermath, because I got to see Sam Houston and I got to see the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan manage the heels against Sam Houston. And that for me was huge. The man that was going to destroy, that had billionaire Ted's money to destroy Hulkamania. Even though Hulkamania had been put down years before. But that was very exciting for me to get to see some of those old timers. It was really neat. Anyway, after the show, I had to go get something to eat, and I had to break down and go to TGI Fridays. For those of you who wonder why I'm not answering your questions, because I want to get this off my chest and out into the ether. So, you know, there it is. And then we'll answer questions. Don't get me wrong. So if you want to hold your questions to the end, that's perfectly fine. I forgot. I'm ignoring you people. You're doing a great job by making, because there's some people in here. I want to pause before I finish the story. There's some people in here who make this chat what it is. And you're entertaining other people and entertaining yourselves, and I appreciate that. Please don't take it over like they tried to do on Monday Night Raw. Even though I get that some of you are just entertaining yourself, and I appreciate that. But no, I will answer questions. I promise. Let me finish the story. So I go over to TGI Fridays, and the TGI Fridays is just mobbed with professional wrestlers. And slowly I start to recognize faces. And I see Pat Patterson. And I see Gerald Briscoe. And I see Tony Gurria. And I see Bambi from WCW. You might not remember Bambi. And just these different people, like, holy smoke. And then I'm standing where I don't know what you call it in a casual restaurant. In a fancy restaurant, you call it the maitre d' station. But whoever was seating people, and they're all hands on deck, and they're going all around, and they're working their asses off. They really are. And so I had to stand there in a smoky casino too, which I didn't mind these things. I should have kept smoking, I guess. But don't smoke. Don't smoke. It's bad for your health. But I stood there, and as I'm standing there, J.J. Dillon from the Four Horsemen just walks right past me like, holy smoke. And I've never felt that way before. I've never had that feeling. I've seen famous people, you know. When I worked in a nightclub, I got to meet some famous people. I met LeVar Burton from Star Trek and Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine and all these people that you may or may not have heard of. And so I was kind of used to that. At least I thought I was. But now I'm seeing people that I really know, people that I've heard talk many times. And J.J. Dillon goes past, and it was really neat. It was really neat. And then finally this kid comes around the corner. That's right. LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow. And this kid comes around the corner and says, sir, I'm so sorry. Can I help you? I said, it's just one, it's just me. He says, do you mind sitting in the bar? Sure, I'll probably get faster service that way anyhow. And so he brings me around the pillars, and it's kind of a crowded bar because it's full, and it's all these old wrestlers who know each other. And I feel like I'm kind of, you know, just like creeping up on their reunion. But so I cruise in, and I come around this pillar, and this kid runs me right smack into Kevin Sullivan. Right into Kevin Sullivan. Now, Kevin Sullivan is billed as 5 feet 10 inches. That's not the case. I just want to say that. But there's Kevin Sullivan, and I freeze. I'm looking down like I'm looking down right now. And I don't know if I look like a freaking idiot, you know, just staring at him, but I said, oh, excuse me. And he says, excuse me, which was a little disappointing. I wanted him to tell me to get out of his way or something like that, but whatever. So they leave me over, and I'm sitting, and I'm lucky enough that in this particular TGI Fridays, they serve something called the Beyond Burger, which is the new wave of vegetarian burger. So I got to have that, and I'm sitting just watching this thing. And before my sandwich comes, I'm, you know, looking at stuff on my phone because all these people know each other, and I don't know anybody. You know, I think all the people that I knew had already gone to bed. And I turn into the corner of my eye. Rob Van Dam is standing right here, and he reeked of weed. You know, so it's Las Vegas, you know, and it's like, wow, it was really, you know, something else. But I'm sorry, I'm watching the content. You people, you miss my videos. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm going to do videos again. If that's what you wanted to know, I'm sorry if I'm ignoring you, but I just want to get through this story. So Rob Van Dam was right here, and I got to see all of that stuff. And I got to tell you, I got to finish the end of the story because the story's great. So I go upstairs, and I could only get a couple of days away, so I couldn't stay for the whole thing. So I had to start loading stuff out to leave the next morning. And so I go to bed. I wake up, or And I get back up to the room and it's already like 1:30 in the morning. And I try to get refreshed and go to sleep. And I can't sleep because, like we talked about with the maintenance cars and the housekeeping cars being right outside my window, I can hear maintenance dudes yelling at each other at 1:30 in the morning in Spanish with Mexican music. Dun, 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 at 1:30 in the morning. It's Las Vegas. I guess you got to expect these things. And I can't go to sleep. So somewhere along the line, I just pass out. I get up, get all the bags together, and I feel awful. It's so dry. And it's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I got to go. So I just got to get out of here. So I get everything loaded in the car, but I'm starving. And food's only going to get more expensive down the road. And I didn't want to go anywhere. So I went to the buffet in the Gold Coast. And I head down through the casino. And I come around the corner, like, I got to get the hell out of there. And as I turn around the corner, there is Baron von Raschke. If you don't know Baron von Raschke, look Baron von Raschke. He used to manage the Powers of Pain when I was a kid. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, he's older now. You know, he's kind of walking with a limp, but it was amazing. I just couldn't believe it. And it was astounding. And there he is. And I was hoping he was going to give me the claw, but he didn't give me the claw. And I wanted to be respectful and all that stuff. So I went to the buffet and I couldn't get over that. Like, I saw Baron von Raschke. And I went to the buffet and I had a coupon. And I went to the buffet and had the worst buffet I've ever had, with the worst, probably not the worst, but not a very good cup of coffee. And it was just not very good. I was going to share the picture on Instagram, but it was a murder scene would have been more palatable. It was awful. So, but as I'm walking through the buffet, I realized that I am wearing my pajamas, like, which are just these very light shorts. I'm like, I'm in a goddamn, and that's Las Vegas, so you can get away with these things, but I'm in a goddamn restaurant just wearing these shorts, and I think I had like a Metroid t-shirt on. It was like, oh, because other people are like dressed, like wearing clothes. Like, oh, I feel like a hobo. So there was that. And then I got in the car and I went home. I think that's the end of the story. So I guess I'll open the floor up to questions. So thank you very much for enduring my story. And another thing I've been up to I want to share is I got to go to, while I'm waiting for the questions to fill up, if they do, because I think people are upset that that I'm not answering their questions. But I got to go to Legoland here in San Diego for the very first time the other day. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably got to see that. So I guess I could talk about that in a second. My thoughts on E3. Guys, I tried. I really did. It's the same. What's the matter with you? What? What are you complaining about? Are you upset that you're not on the show? You upset that you've been here this whole time? You're here when I make videos and you don't get featured on. Do you want to be on the show? Come here. Come here. Let me love you. Come here. Be on the show with the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the biggest kitty in Carlsbad. This is my boy. This is Schizo Kitty. Schizo, say hello to the people. Oh, you're boring. You're complaining you want to be on the show and now you're not on the show. That's okay. He'll be on the show later on this week, hopefully. So I tried. I really tried to watch E3. I started with the Microsoft presentation. The green and black just pisses me off. It really does. It's just so pretentious. It's like they're throwing a show for themselves. I saw the thing for Forza and was like, I'm out of here. I'll buy Forza when it's, $7 at GameStop. Forget this. So don't get me wrong. I like Forza. But when you're opening the show with Forza, the old standby, and it's just the old standby year after year, it gets boring. How much can I really get excited? And then I skipped Ubisoft because Ubisoft can kiss my balls. They don't make anything good. What's their good thing? They have Rayman, they have Prince of Persia, and Rayman and Prince of Persia don't come around all that often. It's been the Rabbids and Just Dance year after year after year. And don't get me wrong, I'm curious. I didn't check. Does anybody know? Is Just Dance 2019 coming to the Wii? Because if it is, that's freaking hilarious and great because they know their market. There are 100 million Wiis out there, and I know my mom buys that stuff every year. You know, it's a great workout. I understand. So you can badmouth it all you want. You can hate on the pop, but fact is, I think that stuff still prints money. So but for me, a single player gameplay. That's I'm pouring water into the big damn cup. Soon to be available at my website when I get one. Should have a website, sell t-shirts and stuff. Won't have to wear this stuff, the same shirt in every video. But I tried. And then I watched a little bit of the Sony thing. Resident Evil 2 remake. Great. You know, I'll wait till it shows up on a platform that somebody else I know has, or, you know, whatever. And then I watched Nintendo, which was, boy, isn't Splatoon great, and Super Smash Brothers again. Yeah, that's all I got out of it. I got a bunch of these. I don't know if they're, I mean, I'm happy to say that the middle tier is kind of coming back. The middle tier of games is, you know, those not quite low budget indie games, but they've got a little bit of money. Those games are making a slow comeback. I appreciate that. But, you know, it's FIFA every year and whatever. So, and for the life of me, I still can't figure out what it is that's selling the Nintendo Switch. I don't dislike the system. I don't have one. If you'll notice, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see the Wii U still set up over there with all that mess over there. I'm charging one of the controllers right now. But I don't know what's selling the Wii U. The Wii U, I mean, not the Wii U. Freudian slip. The Switch is... It's a whole bunch of re-release Wii U games. I wanted to believe it was more. I'm interested. I mean, I want to play Mario Odyssey, and because I still haven't played Mario Odyssey. I played it at the store for, you know, a little while. And I really want to try ARMS, but it seems like the bulk of it is re-release Wii U stuff. And I understand better load times because, let's face it, two great games on the Wii U that not maybe a lot of people talked about was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and Lego City Undercover. And the load times on those games are massive, massive. You're waiting for minutes at a time in some instances. You know, it's like, what is this? The Neo Geo CD? This is ridiculous. You thought I was going to make a PlayStation 1 joke, but I didn't. I you know, for those of you that like it, I'm happy for you. It's just it hasn't grabbed me yet. And also, I mean, I'm being a cheap ass this time. I paid, you know, full price for that thing. So I'm going to get full value out of that thing. I'm waiting for price drop myself and to see what else they do with it. I'm also waiting to see the successor to the Nintendo 3DS because you'll remember I said this, I think, on one of the last 8-Bit podcasts way back when, that they're going to ride out the Nintendo 3DS for a while. And some of you said I was crazy. Some of you said, no, it's over. It's ancient technology. They're not going to do anything with it. And they're still pumping out games for that thing. So it's getting a long run like the original Game Boy. And that's a good thing. Not nearly as many units sold. At least I don't think so. But maybe close, or maybe probably half. I would assume half. You can only expect so much because, let's face it, mobile phones do eat up a good amount of that bite-sized game market. And, you know, it's not really for those people. It's for those people that's interesting because it used to be for those people, and now it's for that middle people who they need more than what mobile can provide, even though mobile games are getting more complex all the time, especially when you pair a controller with your mobile phone, you know, be it Android games are really coming along. And that's good to see because it was suffering for a really long time. I thought about trying to cover more mobile games and I can't do it. Jeez, there's a ton and you don't even know how many there are. It's just, you know, that's because, you know, the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store are broken. They can't promote all the content they have. It's like a discount retailer, you know, there's so much stuff in here that a lot of it's just going to be left to sit. You're just overwhelmed with all the different brand names and all these different things. And it's like, oh, what's that game? Okay, I like that game. And then, you know, you're set. And then there's people like me who've been playing Drop 7 for like 5 years. So in any event, E3 was, I know a lot of people want to see E3 thoughts and comments, and E3 is just another fan convention. It's been devolving into that for a while. The only game that I thought was interesting, I'm not saying I'm very excited for it, but TT Games did the Lego. I've kind of become more interested in the Lego games lately. That might be because they're dirt cheap. And just they have great sound design. I'm big on that. I'm big on sound design. I don't know if you know that about me, but one thing that's huge and not many people talk about enough, with all the things that are peddled on YouTube about video games, no one talks about video game sound design nearly enough. But they have great stuff. But Lego DC Super Villains, which I think that's interesting, because those are Lego games are typically marketed towards kids. And I don't know if kids are really so much into villains. Maybe I view villains differently. I don't know. But I look forward to seeing it. I'm interested to see how that goes. So, it'll be really neat. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Majesty ZX says that ever since they added voice acting, the Lego games have been much more enjoyable. I liked, I appreciate what you're saying, and that's very true, which is why I originally said that Lego City or the Lego movie dialogue pales in comparison to the dialogue in Lego City Undercover. So, and also I've seen a fair share of cop movies, so I think that I was already, there. I kind of met them halfway. So, I'll drink my water. Anyway, E3 was just it was underwhelming. I think they're still doing the Smash Brothers Invitational, which what a freaking shill show that is. You see all the YouTube freaking panderers they put on that stuff? That's insane. I'm not going to name names because I draw more heat that way. But did you see that? Wasn't that ridiculous? What a bunch of crap. So I just turned it off. Like, I've always thought that Nintendo of America's approach to being YouTube friendly or less corporate has always been kind of cringy. It's like, you're not fooling me. You're really not. Not to say that they have to or whatever, but it's just, it doesn't grab me. It seems kind of low, but like, because you notice they're not investing very much into E3 anymore, because I think they know that it has limited drawing potential, and that's okay. But yeah, they're not going to really be bringing out hot stuff at a fan convention anymore. Just because, I don't know, maybe they feel they can market better through social media and things like that. So yeah, just kind of underwhelming. Now, if there's something that you saw that I didn't see, because I got turned off by a lot of it. I really did. So if you saw something that I should look at, please let me know. I really appreciate it. But I'm going to say this, and some of you might agree, might disagree, but Sushi Striker is not doing it for me. It's not pushing me towards a Nintendo Switch. As far as the 8-Bit podcast returning, I don't know. It's not really up to me. It's a matter of the schedule of all three of the participants. And I know there's people that really want Saint and Magnus to return to the show and all that stuff. And, I got no heat with Saint and Magnus that I'm aware. But no one contacts me. No one calls me. We're all grown men with our own separate lives. And if they wanted to do this, I'm sure they'd say they want to, but you can only be pissed off and angry for so long. I'm not really angry anymore. At least I'm trying not to. So I hope to work with those guys in some other capacity. I just don't know if we could really live up to the whole 8-bit thing, the angry black wearing, heavy metal thing. I think that's an idea that is kind of past its time. Again, if it's your nostalgia and you really just love seeing the 3 or 4 of us, or, and there was a nice rotating. I look back now, there was quite a selection of people on that program before they got to be what they are now, obviously. So And I think, you know, we did some great work, all things considered. And I'd love to do that. But, you know, we're all busy people with busy lives, and I can't expect those guys to just, you know, keep showing up, you know, when it's convenient for me. And, you know, same thing for, you know, all the way around. So I don't know. We'll see, you know, maybe in another capacity, maybe call it something different. I don't know. I really don't know. Nothing set in stone. So, there's that. I hope to one day again work with those guys again, but you never know what the future brings. You really don't. So, and if I'm missing your questions, I'm so sorry. I really apologize. And you can't call it the Love Bit Podcast. That goes for you, Nick, and that goes for you, Sonic, and all you other people who are going to repeat them. You can't call it that because I already called it that. I called it that in the first or second season of the show when somebody and somebody were being all lovey-dovey about something, and I called it the Love Bit Podcast. I can't remember who it was, but so you can't make that joke. I already made that joke years ago. But thank you for, and if that's a tribute, I'm sorry. It might be like a rock concert where you're calling out songs, you're calling out jokes or something that you remembered. Then thank you for remembering. I appreciate that, and I hope that we can make new memories together. But I really appreciate that. So I hope to. I hope to work with those guys in some other capacity. Nick Canfield wants me to talk about wrestling again. So if you'll excuse me, was the Montreal screw job a work? I think so. One key reason that stands out to me is if you watch, even rolling back, it's since been edited from the pay-per-view broadcast. But if you look at the original pay-per-view broadcast, where Brett tells the audience, I'm going to WCW, and they have it clear as day on camera. Vince doesn't allow that. Vince, if you find it on DVD, you'll find it just like that. Vince does not allow that stuff. That doesn't happen on his TV unless he says it's okay. Because he has no problem with pulling a whole damn segment. You can't shoot on Vince McMahon. A world-class television program like that, you know, I mean, maybe a little, but something like that, just the way the whole thing was put together, it looks very well orchestrated. And that's the problem with it. It doesn't look like a legitimate fight. I don't know who was really in on it, but I'm pretty sure Brett and Vince were in on it. But this is just my guess. This is what I've noticed. So I'm not an expert in the field. I'm just a fan who's been paying really close attention for a very long time. They should make me a booker. But, you know, I need real money. Sorry, I made a terrible loud sound, and it was an awful sound. Some people, referring back to the Hate It podcast, some people had just started watching. I forget that some people came in after certain people had left the program. So, Sonic wants to know if I'm all in. I am not, actually. I have an appreciation for what Cody Rhodes does. Cody Rhodes is a great businessman and a great personality. Learned from his father, and I look forward to seeing what he's going to do. I am not so interested. I saw the Young Bucks when they started around here in Southern California, when they were actually young, which was a while ago. Just so you know, once you get to be about 25, it gets harder and harder. Not to say that you're not young, because everybody's young compared to somebody else, but to represent the young, sorry, I'm itching my nose again like a fool. It gets harder and harder for you, your spot in life, to represent the young. It reminds me of a lot of punk rock bands that have the nerve to call themselves youth when they're in their middle 40s. It's like you can't call yourself the something youth or youth of something when you're that age. You should be the men of something or the something men. I know it's bad for marketing, but you should have thought of that. Let me see here. Biogenesis doesn't believe I don't own a Switch. I don't. Like I said, they have not pushed me in that direction. I got 2 games I'm looking forward to: ARMS and Super Mario. And I need to have at least 3. At least 3. And a lot of people ask me, well, what would be the games? Like, I don't want to tell them the game. I want them to surprise me. Just like what would I like in wrestling or what would I like in music? I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to surprise me. I want you to make a piece of art that I cannot look away from. Beg your pardon. From which I cannot look away. That's what I want. That's what I need. That's what we all need. We should not get what we want. We should get something good. Because if you get what you want all the time, you will also be ill-fulfilled. That's just the way it is. And if you constantly don't get what you want, there's a time for those sorts of things. But I want to be surprised. I want a piece of art that is going to make sure that I can't look away for a long amount of time. And it's not that hard to do. It's not. Even if it's predictable. It is possible to be charming. It is possible to pick my nose right on camera because this is a reality program, I guess. It is possible to be endearing and to capture people's attention and their adoration and still be predictable without being a dick about it. You know, I mean, seriously, it can be done. All you have to do is just trust that your audience wants to see you do something and then do it. And if it sucks, oh, well, you tried. But the point is to keep trying until you find that thing. Because once the people start telling you, they'll tell you with how they react. They don't have to tell you directly. They don't need to send you an email. It's easy. You just have to listen. And I know that I've not been listening because I know that I've been listening. What about Vince's black eye? You don't think Vince McMahon would punch? Have you seen his hands? You don't think he would punch himself in the eye? You don't think that they have top flight makeup people at Titan Tower? Don't forget, anything that happens on camera is probably not real. Even this, the house over there is a freaking mess. This is just the best part that I could show you. That's seriously the case. And that's why you can see Buzz Lightyear and Mike Wazowski and Johnny Bravo. This was the nicest portion of the house that I could show you because the rest of it's a mess. Just off camera. So anyway, that's what I believe. I believe that you can be charming and endearing and have the adoration of a large group of people by showing that you're trying. That's what's important, I think, is the effort. You know, like a kid who gives you something made of macaroni. They made it for you. Sure, it looks like crap and it's going to fall apart and all these things, but they made it for you because they thought you would like it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to pay somebody's way just because they're making games they thought you would like, but, you know, when they're, you get what I mean? It might be overly complex, but I believe these things can be done. And that's what I want, is just for them to say to me, hey, we think this is neat. Come check it out. You know? And sometimes it can be a sequel too. I'm not going to lie. You know, there's going to be people who love this Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm curious to see it. I know I'm thinking of a few people right now who are going to get it, and I'm going to go over to their house and I'm going to watch it, and I'm not going to be scared like I was when I first played it when I was a kid. But I hope to have good feelings from that. If it's good, and I know they can do it. I know Capcom and whoever they hired, they can do good work. I've seen them do it before. You know, just hopefully they've spent more time on this and so they didn't have to spend as much time on Mega Man 11. Because that's not something that I think requires a lot of effort. So, yeah. Cuphead's a great example. They did something different, and it took forever for everything to come out, and people still wanted it. And that's a great thing. It doesn't happen very often, so don't get hung up on that idea, but it can be done. Joseph Haynes wants to know my most played game so far this year. My most played game this year. well, towards the beginning of the year, it was The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, which I almost finished, and then some family unpleasantness came up, and I suddenly had less time for that. So that kind of got put on the back burner. But trying to think, I've had my attention pretty well spread out. I've been playing games on the Wii U, on the 3DS, on the iPad, on the Apple TV, and so I've been doing a lot of that. And like, there's one game that I've been enjoying a lot actually on the Apple TV called, I want to say it's Horizon Chase, which is, on the surface, it looks like an Outrun clone, but it's more of a racer, less of a, driving game for time. So it's a really good thing. If you have the chance, check it out on your Apple TV. Also available on, I think, Android and iOS devices. So check that out. And then in the last month or so, I've been playing a lot of Lego City Undercover, The Chase Begins on Nintendo 3DS. And I knew I made a mistake by playing that game after I played and wrapped up Lego City Undercover on the Wii U, because it is a weaker game, weaker hardware, to be expected, far less voice acting, which is not a big deal for me. The dialogue is not terribly witty. It's a Lego game, it's still a lot of fun. Some of the loading kind of stinks, and having to switch between menus to make simple changes is kind of crummy. So, but I've been playing a lot of that just because, again, still great sound design. Sounds great through the headphones. I really enjoy that. Nick Canfield wants to know if I cut my hair shorter. Yes, I did. Ladies and gentlemen, years ago, my mother, I don't know if you can see it right now, but I've been getting gray hair on and off since I was about 18 years old. Right after high school, I started to get a bit of gray hair in the front here. And so I wanted to dye my hair for the longest time because it just didn't look right. I thought I had kind of a young face for, all of that. And turns out it's come in waves and phases. If you've been watching the program, in fact, no, you haven't noticed, because I've been dyeing my hair for years. You'll notice that it's natural color now, with this, this chestnut brown sort of color. You'll notice for years it's been like white black, or what they call starry night. I've been dyeing my hair for quite some time. And then in the last few years, if you've seen where my hair was very light, it's because it was severely damaged from the dye. My mother told me not to dye my hair. It's going to wreck your hair. She was speaking from experience, and it did. It just beat the hell out of my hair. And she also told me not to use a blow dryer because it beats the hell out of your hair, and it did. So my hair got very light in color and very like straw, very damaged. And it was time. I had to let it go, and we had to start fresh. So that's what this is. We're letting it go. We're starting fresh. And a few people have asked me, why not just cut the whole thing off? I don't know how to wear my hair short. I really don't. I don't know if I've told you on the program, but my brother, it has straight hair like me, but it stands up. If you can grow it really long so it'll stand up straight, and not lop over for a very long time. And so he does his hair with gel and does, or spiky hair or slick back or whatever. But he does his hair every morning with the thing and the brush and the blow dryer and the chemicals. And I just plain can't do it. I can't even stand putting on eye drops in the morning, let alone to go through all of that. So that's why I've worn my hair for so long. A lot of people think it's the heavy metal thing, and no, not really. It's more of, I can brush it back, tie it up, go. So that's really my motivation there. And how Nick Canfield wants to know how I deal with pesky nipple hair. Nick, are you having nipple hair problems? Because if you're having nipple hair problems, that either means A, you're too manly, or B, you wear your shirts too tight and it's rubbing against there and encouraging growth. So either way, you'll review your situation and hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, and we can talk it out. We'll get through this, you and me. And you don't have to suffer alone. Always remember that. You never have to suffer alone. You don't. Reach out. If you're having a hard time for whatever reason, whatever it is, reach out and tell somebody, you know. And like Steven Tyler once told us all, the light at the end of the tunnel just might be you. So that sounds like I'm going to end the program, but no, we got a few more minutes here. I got a few more minutes until, you know, I got some other things to do. So we'll be back though. We'll be back. I hope to have some videos up this week. I really do. It's not going to be anything too mind blowing. I am going to bring in a video editor, so hopefully we can have some more flashy videos. So there's that. Nick Canfield's upset that I cut my hair. Don't worry, it'll be back. And then you'll be able to salivate over my hair and whatever else about me for years to come. I promise. Do I remember the time that Kid Shore You Can Cut Me Off and took a piss and showed everyone his ass during the cocktail hour? We were a little trashed on that show, so pardon me if I don't remember. But if you've been watching those shows, thank you. It's always interesting to know that people are watching like reruns. So unfortunately, that's how you're going to know like some of the same jokes. So let me see here. Biogenesis wants a new F-Zero. Well, me too. Me too. But I would like it presented a different way. Give me the same gameplay, but present it differently. And I don't know. I've speculated on that before. I think it would be cool, but I don't think it would sell very well. I don't think F-Zero games sell very well anyway. So, and games are getting more expensive to make all the time. So let me see here. Samuel Steingart wants to know if I watch anime, and if so, any favorites. My favorites, I think I've talked about this, is the Studio Ghibli films, and there's a few outside of that, like Akira, I enjoy very much, even though it's very violent. There's another one from the 80s called Goku Eye that I enjoyed very much. And what's the other one? Appleseed. I enjoy that very much. As far as newer stuff, my brother-in-law introduced me to One Punch Man, which I'm going to tell you, I got to see some of it in Japanese, some of it in English, and it's far more enjoyable in Japanese, I have to say. Especially if, you know, you're kind of in tune with the sort of more dry aspects of, you know, Japanese culture and Japanese sense of humor. So, but I enjoyed, those are the ones I enjoy. I really do. And Boston Birdman is the time we saw Larry Bundy's crack on pissing in the live stream. Yes, there was that. And not myself, but Alpha Omega Sin pointing it out over and over again. So that was quite something. So Saturn 2 wants to know how my album's coming. My album has completely stopped. I have had no time to work on that. I have a bunch of almost songs put together. There's some complete songs that I've yet to, you know, I've written lyrics that I don't care for, and they're very scratchy, so I haven't done a whole lot of that. I think I am going to chop up some of that and use it in some of the upcoming videos. So you'll get to hear some riffage, just because I can't write songs by myself, I guess. You know, songs. So, you know, anyway. Raving RPG wants to know, what are my thoughts on the anime series Yuri on Ice? I've never seen Yuri on Ice. I've seen it on Crunchyroll, I think. It's like in the queue. So I don't know that I've ever seen it. One of the newer ones that I've seen was called The Devil is a Part-Timer, which I thought was pretty funny. So there's that. Sonic wants to know if I ever use GarageBand. As a matter of fact, I do. GarageBand is actually my preferred platform. Once in a while, I'll drift into Logic, but Logic is just so, there's so much you can do, just, and especially the new GarageBand, that there's so much you can just do and make it happen. And as time has gone on, I've recognized that all those tools don't necessarily help. You know, if you have a specific idea of what you want to do, they can get you there. But if you just want music, then you can do it. I've always been of the mind that a great performance will triumph any production difficulties, I think. Now, there's a way, now you can use production to really hurt a strong performance, but overall, a strong performance is really going to carry you much to your goal. And a lot of people hide behind studio tricks. So there's that too. Yeah. Nick Campiel, who's asking a lot of the questions, wants to know if I ever collected Pokemon cards. No! Did I watch the Castlevania animated series? No! I've never really been enough into Castlevania to follow it that far, because Castlevania, much like Star Wars, is a bunch of other stuff shuffled together. So, you know, whatever. No, I haven't had a chance. Saturn 2 wants to know if theft could get you into any industry you wanted, what industry would it be and what would you steal? Well, most industry is theft. Taking something and telling somebody, hey, you should give me more money than I spent on this. It's a soft form of theft, isn't it? I don't know. The answer would probably be something I'd enjoy doing, but if I'm going to be stealing from people, entertainment. and we'll get there. All of us together, we'll get there at one point. Somebody remembers when Sainted Magnus was under the influence of alcohol. Yeah, that happened once in a while. And something I never gave him enough credit for is that he could put up a strong argument under the influence of alcohol. I never told him that. I regret not telling him that. If anybody talks to Sainted Magnus, I'm sure there's somebody. Tell him that I put him over and I gave him credit for being able to hold his own under the influence of alcohol. Until he fell asleep, of course, but that, you know, that comes for us all. You know, don't think that, you know, you can just sit there and pound shots and you're going to be fine. You know, just like try pouring that shit over a piece of wood over a long period of time and see what happens. And you're not made of wood. Some people, there's going to be perverted comments. I can just tell somebody's going to say that. Anyway. Dr. Death Defying wants to know best new metal albums. I don't know. I have been looking into new metal lately, new metal releases, and I have not really seen anything that's grabbed me. And it's kind of a shame. So I look to you, the audience. Can you point me in the direction of some new stuff? Because I haven't seen any. There's been a couple of things in the progressive metal vein that have come about in the last little while on Inside Out music that has been interesting to me. There's a band that's kind of cool called, I think it's Haken, Haken. So their material has been pretty good. It wasn't the last record I bought. I was gonna buy the new Iced Earth record, and then I didn't, and I can't remember why. So did I tell you guys that I was gonna audition for Iced Earth? Did I tell you about that? I shot a video and everything. I was gonna, because when they asked fans and people to send in videos of them playing, you know, songs or, you know, auditioning or showing off, and I made a video and everything, and then I started realizing, like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to like go to work or live in Indiana, and they mostly draw in Europe, and I don't like to fly. So I put the video on the shelf, and that was the end of that. So that's something that you didn't get to see. I don't know, and I guess I could have. You know, it's not important. But so I just thought I'd share that if you want to talk about something metal. Nick Canfield wants to know if I ever played Yoshi's Woolly World. Yes, I did. I haven't finished it yet because those levels are long, man. You know, it's not a terribly hard game. It's got some challenge, make no mistake about it, but it's long. Those levels are long, man. So I hope to finish that, you know, very soon. Sonic wants to know if I'm into Ghost. No, I don't dig Ghost. I don't get Ghost. I really don't. Oh, you know what's a band I discovered? I would say that's new metal, and I would say that where metal is going, I think. And I don't want to say bad things about this band, but I had such high hopes for this group. There's a group out there, and I guess they're coming here to San Diego for the Comic-Con week. They're called Galactic Empire, and at one point they all dressed like masked Star Wars characters. And like the front lead guitar player, I don't think they have any vocals. I think it's just all instrumental stuff. Dresses like Darth Vader and all these things. And I had such high hopes because once in a while I sit down and some of the music I've been working on is stuff inspired by John Williams and Star Wars. And just I don't know if you know, I'm a fan of people ask me my opinion of Star Wars, and I'm a fan of the extended universe novels, or expanded universe novels. So all the stuff that Disney does doesn't really affect me. So fuck these people. Not these people. I like these people. They do good work, but these people are bastards that managed to sink the #1 movie franchise of all time. But Galactic Empire is a band that I said, ooh, Star Wars music. And then I watched, and it's all Star Wars music. Like, all they do is and they have 3 guitars. Now, if you ever saw what I did in Crepitus, because I didn't know how to make a 3-guitar band, we had a very unique sounding 3-guitar band. I don't think they really take a whole lot of advantage of that they have 3 guitar players. Like, one guy is just mostly harmonizing the whole time. Not to say that's a bad thing, but I heard someone they're like Star Wars Kiss or Gwar, but Kiss and Gwar is a show. These guys are kind of just standing there with costumes on, and I don't want to badmouth what they're doing. But when I saw that they were going to do this, I'm like, cool. Are they? And they just do Star Wars songs. That's all. And I don't know what I expected, but I expected just a little bit more. You know what I mean? You see something like that, and because it's not much of a show, they just kind of stand there and play their songs, and it's a lot of a lot of the metalcore rhythms, like how that stuff still hangs around, I don't know, but they do a lot of that, and they're very, very skilled. They're all, very adept musicians. They all play very well. But every time I watch it, it's like they just play the Star Wars songs, and if I want to hear the Star Wars songs, I have the John Williams, a good chunk of the John Williams catalog. And I say a good chunk, but a fair amount. Mrs. Chaos and myself, we're big fans of John Williams. So I could just listen to that. So that's one thing that I've been exposed to. I think they have a great idea, and I like their idea. I should neglect to mention that I watched them do like more than half of a 40-minute set, and 6 minutes of it is their intro. I was like, a 6-minute intro to a metal crowd. It's clearly not a metal crowd in front of them. You can't really see, but people would be throwing stuff by this time. So, and do I have any new guitars? I haven't showed you. I bought a Kiesel guitar not too long ago, and I haven't showed it off yet. My goodness. I'll do a video about that real soon, about my new Kiesel. Not new, it's almost a year old now. I bought it for my birthday last year. Took a little while for them to get it to me. In fact, I'll talk about Kiesel and dealing with them, because it's nice people. It's a home business, or it shouldn't say home business, but a family-owned business here in San Diego County. So they had when I was growing up, they had used to be called carving guitars, and they had the coolest catalog all the time. I couldn't afford anything, and now I can sort of afford these things. So I'll show that off. I'll talk about it very soon, because I had a good experience dealing with them, and honestly, probably the best guitar I've ever played. At least I'd say in my top 10, and definitely top 3 best bolt-on guitar I've ever dealt with. I got a bolt-on. I love bolt-on net construction guitars. Nick Campy wants to know if I've ever shit my pants as an adult in public. No. No, I don't think so. Because I'm just picturing like someone just standing there doing it in like protest, or like just sneezing really hard. No, I mean, I think I told you a story about a girlfriend of mine that we were on. Oh God, this is a terrible story. I'm gonna tell this story, and then I'm gonna have to get out of here, because you know, I got videos to do, and I got things to do, and I'll be back. I'll be back very soon. So please check me out on my social media, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the on Instagram, and on Anchor. You can check me out audio only over there on Anchor, and do all sorts of things. So, but an old girlfriend of mine, I won't say her name, but we went to a party with the Dracone guys. If you remember the guys from Dracone, Neil and Tim and all those guys, they were in some old videos way back. You know, it's a band I played in since I was like 19, and we still get together every once in a while in between soccer practice because that's the kind of guys they are. But and softball, I guess, because the bass player has daughters, and I guess that's a real pain in the ass. But we went to a party and we had a really good time, and I'm not much of a drinker. I'm not a heavy drinker. When you see me on the drunk shows, you'll notice that the alcohol hits me pretty hard, pretty quick, because I just don't drink a lot in my spare time. But so I didn't drink a lot, but we were in Long Beach, I think. And this girlfriend, it was time to go home. And we drove east from Los Angeles and Long Beach to Orange County. She lived in the city of Orange, in Orange County. And we were on the 22 freeway, and she was pretty hammered. And she told me that she had to, you know, potty. She had to use the facilities. I said, we're on the freeway. You can't wait. She says, no, I can't wait. And she's also like burping a lot. Like she's had a lot to drink, and she's kind of woozy anyway. I'm like, all right. She's like, I have to go right now. And she makes me pull over on the side of the freeway. For those of you who know the area, we were on State Route 22 eastbound at Euclid Street. To give you an idea of my old stomping grounds when I was a kid, but this was in my 20s. But at Euclid Street, and I pull over, and she gets out, and she just drops trowel right at the freeway exit, pulls down her pants, pulls down her underwear, is having trouble standing up, is having trouble, you know, like holding herself up. And then she says, oh God. And I lean out, I said, what's the matter? And I watch her vomit right into her own pants. Like a lot. Just, and it's like, it was so horrible. I couldn't look away. Like, oh my gosh, you're not getting back into my car like that. And she took off her shoes, threw her shoes in the car, didn't get any other shoes somehow, took off the pants, and then just left the pants there, got in the car and said, okay, we can go now. And then I had to carry a woman with, I'm pretty sure, vomit in her underwear. And a fairly good sized girl, probably 160, if I remember correctly. She was a proportioned girl. You know, like a side of beef. But and there was that. And I carried her into her house, and I drove away, and I smelled like puke. And then she called me the next morning and had no idea how she got into her bed, and she wanted an explanation like it was my fault. And then I drove over to go get her, and so we could do something. And the pants, this is a few days later, and the pants were still at the Euclid Street exit of the 22 freeway. So it goes to show that tax dollars don't do shit in California either. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I love all of you. I really do. And I hope to see you this week. Hit me up. Tell me what's going on. I hope you enjoyed the program, and there's going to be far more, lots more right here. By the way, I wanted to tell you this. I was starting to tell you this before I get out of here. I am now a card-carrying premium Merlin pass holder over there at Legoland now. And I hope to tell you in the future about my experiences being a theme park employee versus going to Legoland and being a fan of Lego. I hope to talk about that a little bit in the future. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Thank you so much. You guys are great. And again, hit me up real soon. I'll talk to you very soon. We'll do it again next week. If you don't see any videos from me, we'll do the same thing again next week. All right. I'll see you later. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I got to go sort some bricks now. Peace.